Uptime Kubernetes is really useful. It tells you what's up and what's down. But what if your dashboard could do more? What if it showed your services, your system resources, and became the actual homepage of your home lab? Today we're going to transition from Uptime Kubernetes to Homarr. Don't get me wrong, Uptime Kubernetes is amazing at monitoring, and I'm still going to use it because of the notification. But Homarr takes the idea of a dashboard and expands it into a whole control center. And since it's self-hosted in Docker, I absolutely had to try it out. Before I made this video, I was wondering if I really need a dashboard like that, but I realized I have so many different services and stuff running that I don't even know what's really running anymore. So with Homarr in one dashboard, I can centralize that all. Let's have a quick look at their documentation, and as always you will find every link, every file and every command that we use in this video in the description down below to download. The nice thing is they already give you the complete Docker Compose file, and what you need in the Docker Compose file is a secret encryption key, and if you don't know how to create one with a command, I will show you in a second, but also you can refresh key here so you have a fresh new key that no one else has, hopefully, that you can just copy the whole thing and paste it into your server. And for those who don't want Docker Compose for whatever reason, there's also the Docker run command for Docker standalone. With all that, let's copy this and head straight to the terminal. In here, let's first create a new directory with make directory Homarr and then change into it with cd. And then we can create a new file with nano docker-compose.yaml. You could also use vim, but I realized that with nano it's easier to paste stuff in. But I actually want to change some stuff in there, that's why I'm going to open it up with vim again. First, I don't want my secret encryption key in here in plain text. I want it to be in an environment file. So let's delete this and then let's put it in an environment variable. The environment variable needs to look like this, $, and then inside curly brackets, the name that you want to assign. And to create that variable, it's really easy. Let me just split the screen here, and then we're going to create a new file, .env, the dot makes it invisible. After that, we run this command export, then the name of your variable, secret encryption key for me, then equals $, and then with the command openSSL random hex, and then 32 digits. You can also do 16, but it won't work with Homarr. Just in general, you can do 16 or whatever digits you want. It won't output us anything. And after that, you're going to echo that variable and then append the output of that echo command into this env file. It's looking like this, and then it won't output us anything because the output we appended into the env file. But if we cat env, then there it is. The second thing I want to change in this Docker Compose file is I want to add a volume. So let's do volumes, colon, and then Homarr data. Don't forget the colon. And then in here we can delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this, and then put in Homarr underscore data for that. That way the Docker container will use a Docker volume to store the data instead of just a local directory. With that taken care of, we can configure our reverse proxy now. In my case, there's Nginx, so everything can be accessed through HTTPS through a subdomain, so it's all secure and encrypted. For that, let's change the directory into etc nginx sites available, and in here we're going to create a new file. I always call my Nginx config files the name of the subdomain with underscores instead of the dots. I already prepared that file for us beforehand, so we just need to paste it in. What this is, it just listens to port 80, which is HTTP, but that's okay because we're going to use certbot to transform this file automatically into HTTPS to listen on port 443. You just need to edit your server name into the subdomain that you chose and created, and then adjust the port if ever you're using a different port than what I'm using here. After that, we're going to change into the directory etc nginx sites enabled, and then create a symbolic link from this Homarr the sysadminhub.com file. Here we can see it all worked fine. We have this Homarr the sysadminhub.com file, and it's a symbolic link to this file in here. Now to see if everything is alright, we can run the command nginx-t, which will check if the syntax of every file is okay, which it is. Only when this command shows okay, you can safely reload your Nginx web server. And the last step for Nginx is to request an SSL certificate from Let's Encrypt. For that to work, you need to have port 80 open on your server, and also you need a subdomain with an A record pointing to your server IP. And to request a certificate, you only need this one simple command, which is certbot --nginx-d for domain and then the subdomain you chose. It will request the certificate and then already deploy it inside your Nginx. When we have a look at that file again, it changed quite a bit. It added here that it's listening to port 443, which is HTTPS, and then it added this SSL certificate paths here with the full chain and the private key, and also some other stuff here that's all managed by certbot. One thing to keep in mind, those Let's Encrypt certificates are 100% free, but they're only valid for 90 days. But as long as you keep port 80 open on your server, certbot will automatically renew the certificates as soon as they are about to run out. And just for good measure, we're going to run the command nginx-t and systemctl reload nginx, which will check the syntax again, and if everything is okay, it will reload the Nginx web server. Everything went all right. So now we can head back to our Docker directory into the Homarr directory. And now we can start up our container with docker compose up-d. So now it's going to download and pull the image for Homarr, and then it's going to create the volume and then deploy the container and start it up. We can run the command docker ps to check if the container is up and running. If you enjoy my content and my videos, leave a like and consider subscribing. It really helps out small channels like mine so much. Thank you for your support. Now that we configured everything and the container is running, let's head to the browser and check if everything is working fine. In the browser, Homarr greets us with "Welcome to Homarr," and then we can select our language. I'm going to stick with English. We can set it to light or dark. I'm going to stay with dark. If you have an Homarr 1.0 before, you can import that one, which I don't, so I'm going to start from scratch. The next step is to create an admin user. Just pick a username that you can remember and then use a password. It needs to have at least 8 characters, a lowercase and an uppercase, and it needs to have a number and at least one special character. After that, it's going to ask you to confirm some settings for analytics and crawling and indexing. I'm going to stick with the defaults here, but you can do whatever you like best. But in my opinion, don't enable the indexing or anything else there, because you don't want your dashboard to be indexed by Google or any other search engines. And after that, we're nearly done with the initial setup. We can read the documentation if you like to. We can invite other users to join our dashboards, and we can create our first dashboard, which we will do. We can click new board. Let's just call it board for now. Open that one, and here in the upper right corner there's this little edit icon, and now this plus icon appeared, and in here we can add a new item and a new app. We're going to start with item first, and after that we're going to explore the apps a bit. In the item section you can add an app. We're going to do that later. You can do bookmarks, which is for your browser. But first we're going to add just a simple calendar, move it over here maybe. And then we can also do date and time. We can make them bigger. And then let's see what else we can add here. We can do the Docker stats. So now it's going to show me all my Docker containers. And if I like to, I can even restart them or stop them completely. There's a lot of stuff that you can add. You can even check a Minecraft server status here. But what I want to do next is system health and monitoring. So we're going to add this to the board, and now it says us no integration selected. Try again. What we can do is edit item, and then we need to pick an integration. There is nothing here. One thing to understand with Homarr: this is a dashboard. It only is to display information. It doesn't gather information itself. So you need to have other services to gather the information, and then you can integrate them into Homarr and then display them on the dashboard. So let's click here to create a new integration. It opens up a new tab, and now we can check all the integrations. We can do new integration, and in here you can see every other service that you can integrate into your Homarr. And for the system health, we're going to need Dash. But before we can configure that, we need to deploy Dash first on our server, which is super easy. I will show you. Dash has their own documentation, which also can be deployed in Docker Compose. So let me just copy this here, and then let's go back to the terminal. So let's open up our dockercompose.yaml file again, and then underneath the ports, I'm going just to add new line here, maybe leave a space. Then paste it in. Let me just clean that up real quick. Just make sure that the spacing is correct because YAML files are really sensitive about that. What I want to change here is the port. Let's keep it to 3001 because I don't want to expose this directly to the internet. I'm going to use it through Nginx as a reverse proxy. And let's also give the container a name with container_name : and then let's just call it Dash. With that saved, we can do the command docker compose up-d, which will pull the latest image for this Dash container and then deploy it. And the steps for the reverse proxy Nginx are the same as before. Just create a new file, then run nginx-t to check the syntax, set an A record for a new subdomain, then request a certificate from Let's Encrypt, and then check it again. All the commands and the files are in the description down below. And after Dash is deployed, you don't need to do anything, because if you access it through the web, you can't do anything in here. You can switch from dark mode to light mode if you like to, and you can show either all cores accumulated or all cores single-handedly here. But that's it. You can't do anything here. You can't do any settings, and there isn't even a login here. So now back in Homarr, we can give that Dash integration a name. I'm going to call mine like the server name, and then just use the URL. Just keep in mind to put HTTPS in front of it, or else it won't work. And then we're going to tick on this one, create app, with the same URL, and then we can test the connection and create the integration. And here it is. With Dash up and running and integrated into Homarr, we can edit this item again. And now if we click on integrations, we can choose this one and then save the changes. And now it's going to display the server resources here. And since I have a second server, my mail server, I'm going to create a new app and add this to board again, edit item, click here for new integration, and then add another Dash. Let's call it mail server. And now I have two integrations here, the web server and the mail server. And then I have a second one in here. Let's put that right underneath. How nice is that? Earlier, I ticked on to create an app together with the integration for Dash. Let's check out what that actually meant. So let's go here, and then we can either do new item or add an app. Doesn't matter. Let's add an app. And then here it's going to show those two to us. We're going to select this one, do the other one as well. And now we have those two in here. Those app icons not only show us that the service is up and running. If we save this and then we click on it, it will lead us directly to the Dash app here on my web server, for example. So now let's check what other integrations we have here. Let's go here to management, and then we can go to integrations, new integration, and there is also a Nextcloud integration. I call mine integration Nextcloud the sysadmin hub, and then the URL is cloud.thesysadminhub.com. And then my username for my admin is sysadminhub, and I created an app password for that. And I also tick on create app. So let's test the connection and create. Everything worked. I created an app password for that because first of all, it's more secure in my opinion. And second of all, I'm using multi-factor authentication on my Nextcloud, which means with my normal password, I can't authenticate there because of the missing second factor. Now, what can we do with that integration? First, we can edit our calendar and then pick the integration for the calendar, which means this calendar is now connected to my Nextcloud calendar, which means if I go here into my calendar and then create a new item in here, let's see, maybe in here, January 14th, let's call it Homarr test, and then let's check it out on the calendar in Homarr. In Homarr now, we can see on January 14, there's this little orange dot. If I open this, it shows me the name of the event, and it shows me that it comes from Nextcloud. If I click on this, it will automatically lead me to the Nextcloud. I'm not logged in here in this browser, or else it would have opened up the event itself. If you don't know about Nextcloud yet, then check out my channel page. There I have a lot of videos about Nextcloud there. Also, cloud.thesysadminhub.com is my demo Nextcloud. You can register in here for free and then try out Nextcloud for yourself to see what it can do and if it's suited for you. And of course, we can add our Nextcloud as an app in here. So now it's going to show up in here and shows me if it's up and running. Let's see, let's create another app. Let's open an app creation in here. We can also create an app on the fly, as they call it in here. Let's call mine the Sysadmin Hub with the URL www.youtube.com/thesysadminhub. And then we can also do an icon. We can search for YouTube, for example. This icon is nice. And then create app and use. And now we have this little icon here. If we save this and then click on it, it will lead us directly to YouTube onto my channel page. So far, this already looks quite nice, but I'm not really satisfied with the looks yet. So let's see what we can change in the user interface here. On the top right corner, we have this little settings icon here. If we click it, then we have the general settings in here first. And here we can change the page title. I chose this one, which is displayed on top here. You can also change the meta title, which is the little title here on top on the tab. And then you can also change the logo URL, which is this one in here, and also the fav icon logo or image, which is the little icon on the tab itself. Let's save this. Layout wise, you can't really change that much. That's why I'm going to skip this. On the background, we can upload a new image here, which I'm happily going to do. I'm going to use my logo here, and then you have some settings here on if you wanted to repeat or not, stuff like that. On the appearance settings, you can change the primary and the secondary color. I'm going to leave it as is. You can also do custom CSS if you know how to do CSS. And then here on the behavior, you just can disable the app status or enable it. On access control, you have the users. You can add new users, and every user can have different dashboards, I believe. And in here in the danger zone, you can rename a board. You can change the visibility, which means you can even make a board public to be accessed for everyone, or you can delete a board. And you know what? I'm going to make my board here that we created here together publicly available, so you can check it out. The link is in the description. And since this is public now, I removed the Docker integration so you can't mess my containers here. And I removed the Nextcloud integration from the calendar, even though I'm not using the calendar in here. Maybe I might in the future, so you can't see my events in here. But what you can do is you can check out this stuff in here, and you can see how the Homarr dashboard looks like on your computer. This is how you set up Homarr, and it is really easy and really fast, and it's deployed really nice. And the nice thing is you can have multiple different boards. You can have a public board like I have, and you can create different boards for different users. So each of your family member, for example, can have their own different board that they can either change themselves or you change it for them depending on how well they can use the computer. Tell me in the comments if you're going to use Homarr, or if you want me to try out a different dashboard, just let me know. Until then, see you next time.